The sky above Kepler Colony burned red as alien ships flew overhead. Commander Jake Morrison pressed his face against the thick glass window of the underground command center. Another explosion shook the building. Dust fell from the ceiling onto his shoulders. 3 months had passed since the Vorthak aliens first attacked. Their black ships had come from deep space without warning. Now they circled the human colony like hungry wolves, firing their bright green weapons at anything that moved. Jake turned away from the window. The command center buzzed with worried voices and beeping machines. His people worked at their stations, but he could see the fear in their eyes. Everyone knew they were losing this fight. Dr. Lisa Harper looked up from her computer screen. Her brown hair was messy, and her clothes were dirty. She had not slept much in days. "Jake, we have big problems. Our weapons are almost gone. We only have enough bullets and energy cells for maybe 2 more weeks." Jake nodded. He already knew this, but hearing it out loud made his stomach feel heavy. "What about the shelters? How are our people holding up?" Lisa's face grew sad. "The underground shelters are too crowded. We have 3,000 people down there, including 800 children. The air is getting stale and some people are getting sick. The kids keep asking when they can go outside and play again." Jake walked over to the main display screen. It showed a map of their colony from above. Red dots marked where the alien weapons had hit. There were too many red dots to count. Green dots showed where their own defenses still worked. There were not many green dots left. The colony had been a happy place before the war. Families had come here to start new lives on this distant world. They had built homes, schools, and parks. Children had played in the streets while their parents worked in the mines, digging up special crystals that helped human spaceships travel between the stars. Now those same streets were empty. The pretty houses had holes in their roofs. The school was just a pile of broken stones. The park where children used to swing and laugh was covered in black burn marks. Jake remembered the day everything changed. He had been drinking coffee in his office when the alarm started screaming. The first alien ship had appeared like a dark shadow against the morning sun. Then more ships came, and more, until the sky was full of them. The human fleet had tried to help. The big warship USS Defender and 5 smaller ships had fought bravely to break through the alien blockade. Jake had watched the battle from this same command center. He had seen the bright flashes when the human ships exploded one by one. No one had escaped. No help was coming. Lieutenant Ben Carter ran into the command center. His young face was pale and sweaty. "Commander Morrison, sir. Something strange is happening." Jake turned to face him. "What kind of strange, Ben?" Ben caught his breath before speaking. "Our long-distance scanners picked up a new ship, but it is not like any ship we have ever seen before. It is not human, and it is not Vorthak either." Lisa looked up from her computer. "Show us what you found." Ben pressed buttons on his control panel. The main display screen changed to show a picture of space around their planet. In the distance, a small dot moved toward them. The computer made the image bigger and clearer. Jake stared at the screen. The ship looked impossible. Instead of metal and sharp edges like normal spaceships, this one seemed to be made of smooth wood and shiny metal. It had curves and decorations that made no sense for traveling through space. Most strange of all, it was moving very fast, somehow avoiding all the alien ships that were supposed to be watching for anything coming or going. "Have the aliens seen it?" Jake asked. Ben shook his head. "No, sir. Their ships are not reacting at all. It is like this new ship is invisible to them." Lisa was studying the readings on her computer. "Jake, the energy patterns from this ship are completely unknown. Our computers have never seen anything like it before." "Is it trying to talk to us?" Jake asked. Ben nodded quickly. "Yes, sir. That is the really strange part. The ship is sending us a message on an old Earth radio frequency, the kind they used to use for talking to airplanes a long time ago." Jake felt a chill run down his back. "What does the message say?" Ben looked at his notes. It says, "Hello Kepler, Colony. This is Nicholas requesting permission to land. I have a special delivery for the children." Then it repeats over and over. The command center went quiet except for the sound of computers humming and distant explosions outside. Jake looked at Lisa, then at Ben, then back at the screen showing the impossible ship. A special delivery for the children? Lisa whispered. Who would risk flying through a war zone to deliver something to kids? Outside, snow had started to fall. Big white flakes drifted past the windows, covering the damaged buildings and burned ground. It was early winter on Kepler, and the snow made everything look peaceful and clean, even though the war was still going on. In the underground shelters, the children pressed their faces against small windows to watch the snowfall. Some of the younger ones talked about Christmas coming soon. They did not understand that there might not be a Christmas this year. They did not understand that they might not live to see another holiday. Jake made his decision. Ben, send a message back to this Nicholas person. Tell him he can land in the main square, but warn him that we are in the middle of a battle. If he wants to risk his life bringing presents to children in a war zone, that is his choice. As Ben sent the message, Jake wondered who would be crazy enough to fly through alien-controlled space just to deliver gifts to kids. He had no idea that he was about to meet someone who would change everything they thought they knew about what was possible in this dark and dangerous universe. The mysterious ship landed in the middle of the colony's main square, just as the alien attack got worse. Green plasma bolts screamed through the air above their heads. Buildings shook and crumbled as the Vorthak weapons hit them again and again. Commander Jake Morrison grabbed his rifle and ran outside with 6 of his best soldiers. Lieutenant Ben Carter and Dr. Lisa Harper followed close behind. They all wore heavy armor and carried energy shields, but Jake knew these would not help much if the aliens decided to focus their fire on the landing area. The strange ship sat in the square like it belonged there. Up close, it looked even more impossible. The hull was made of dark wood that gleamed like it had just been polished. Metal bands wrapped around it in pretty patterns. Small lights twinkled along the sides like stars. It did not look like any war machine Jake had ever seen. "Stay sharp, everyone," Jake whispered to his team. "We do not know what is inside that thing." A door opened on the side of the ship. It made a soft musical sound, like bells ringing on a quiet morning. Steam poured out of the opening, white and warm in the cold winter air. A figure stepped through the steam and onto the snowy ground. Jake's mouth fell open. The person walking toward them was tall and broad, with a round belly that pushed against his red coat. The coat was bright red with white fur around the edges and sleeves. He wore black boots that came up to his knees and a wide black belt around his waist. His hair was white as fresh snow, and his beard was long and full, also pure white. But it was his eyes that made Jake stare. They sparkled with joy and kindness, like he was looking at something wonderful that no one else could see. He walked through the war zone like he was taking a pleasant stroll through a peaceful park. Over one shoulder, the stranger carried a large brown sack. It looked old and worn, like it had traveled many miles. The sack seemed heavy, but the man carried it easily. "Ho, ho, ho," the stranger laughed, a deep, warm sound that somehow carried over the noise of exploding buildings. "Commander Morrison, I believe? Wonderful to meet you at last. I am Nicholas, though most children call me Santa Claus. I understand. You folks are having a bit of trouble with some unwelcome visitors." Jake felt his rifle shake in his hands. This could not be real. No one looked like this anymore. No one talked like this. And no one in their right mind would dress like this in the middle of a space battle. Dr. Lisa Harper held up her scanner and pointed it at the strange man. The device started beeping wildly. Numbers and symbols flashed across its small screen. "Jake," she whispered, "I am getting readings I have never seen before. This man is not completely human. There is something else about him, something my instruments cannot identify." Nicholas noticed Lisa's scanner and chuckled. "Wonderful little device, my dear. But I am afraid it was not built to measure everything in this universe. Some things are beyond what your machines can understand." One of Jake's soldiers, Sergeant Mike Davis, raised his weapon. "Sir, should we arrest this guy? He could be some kind of alien spy." Jake held up his hand. "Wait, let him talk." Nicholas walked closer to the nearest shelter entrance. Through the thick glass windows, dozens of frightened faces looked out at him. Adults held their children close, all of them dirty and tired from months of hiding underground. A little girl with blonde hair pressed her small hand against the glass. She could not have been more than 6 years old. Her blue eyes were wide with wonder as she stared at Nicholas. Despite all the fear and danger around her, despite the sounds of war echoing through the colony, she smiled. Nicholas saw her and winked. The little girl's smile grew bigger. She turned to her mother and pointed at Nicholas, saying something they could not hear through the thick walls. "Now then," Nicholas said, reaching into his large sack. "Let us see what we can do about these rude guests who have overstayed their welcome. Commander, I believe your people could use what humans call a Christmas miracle." From inside the sack, Nicholas pulled out items that made no sense at all. First came what looked like wrapped presents, covered in shiny paper with bright ribbons. Then he took out candy canes that seemed to glow with their own light, red and white stripes pulsing like they contained some kind of energy. But the strangest thing was a small glass ball, no bigger than his fist. Inside the ball was what looked like a tiny winter scene, complete with snow-covered trees and a little village. When Nicholas shook it gently, snow swirled around inside the glass. Ben Carter stared at these impossible objects. "Commander, what is this guy? Some kind of magician?" Lisa's scanner was going crazy now. The numbers on its screen changed so fast she could not read them. "Jake, the energy readings from those objects are off the charts. They are producing power signatures I have never encountered before." Nicholas smiled at her concern. "My dear, Lisa, your science is wonderful, but it only measures part of what exists. There are forces in this universe that your instruments were never designed to detect. Love, hope, the joy of giving gifts to others. These things have power that most people have forgotten about." Another explosion shook the ground nearby. A Vorthak fighter screamed overhead, its weapons charging for another attack. But Nicholas did not seem worried. If anything, he looked pleased, like he had been waiting for exactly this moment. "The children sense I am here," he said softly, looking back at the shelter windows. "They know, even when the adults have stopped believing. Children understand things that grown-ups forget." As if to prove his point, more small faces appeared at the windows. Kids pushed past their parents to get a better look at the impossible man in the red coat. Some of them were smiling now. Some even pressed both hands against the glass and waved. Jake felt something strange happening in his chest. For the first time in months, he felt a tiny spark of something he had almost forgotten. Hope. It was crazy and impossible, but looking at this mysterious Nicholas person, Jake almost believed that things might turn out okay after all. "Who are you really?" Jake asked. Nicholas adjusted his sack on his shoulder and looked up at the alien ship circling overhead. "I am exactly who the children think I am, Commander. And today, that might just be enough to save your world." What happened next would be remembered as the most impossible day in the history of human space warfare. Military commanders would write reports about it for years, but none of them could explain exactly how it all worked. Nicholas reached into his big leather sack and began pulling out gifts for Jake's soldiers. Each item looked simple and harmless, like toys or Christmas decorations. But when the soldiers touched them, amazing things started to happen. To Sergeant Lisa Parks, he handed what looked like a Christmas wreath made of green branches and red berries. "For you, my dear," Nicholas said with a warm smile. "Your armor has seen better days." Lisa took the wreath carefully. It felt warm in her hands, like it was alive. As soon as she held it, her damaged combat armor began to change. The dents popped out by themselves. Cracks sealed up like they had never been there. The power cells that had been nearly dead suddenly showed full charge on her display screen. "What the hell?" Lisa whispered, staring down at her perfectly repaired armor. "How is this possible?" Nicholas just winked at her and moved on to Lieutenant Ben Carter. From his sack, he pulled out a candy cane that was as long as Ben's arm. The red and white stripes seemed to move and flow like liquid light. "Hold this up when the bad guys shoot at you," Nicholas told Ben. "You might be surprised what happens." Ben took the candy cane, feeling foolish. It was just a piece of candy, right? But when a Vorthak fighter swooped low and fired its green plasma cannon directly at him, Ben raised the candy cane without thinking. A wall of crystal-clear energy appeared in front of him. The alien weapon's blast hit the shield and bounced away harmlessly. Ben's eyes went wide. "Commander, are you seeing this?" Jake was seeing it, but he did not believe it. None of this made any sense according to everything he knew about science and warfare. But his soldiers were getting stronger and better protected with each gift. Nicholas handed out Dr. Lisa Harper received a small wrapped box tied with a golden ribbon. "What is inside?" she asked. "Seeds," Nicholas replied. "Plant them in your growing rooms. Your people will need medicine in the days to come." Lisa opened the box. Inside were tiny seeds that glowed with soft blue light. She had never seen anything like them before. Against her better judgment, she ran to the colony's food-growing area and planted the seeds in the soil. Within minutes, the seeds began to sprout. Plants grew faster than should have been possible, reaching full size in less than an hour. But these were not normal plants. Their leaves contained healing properties, more powerful than any medicine in the colony's medical supplies. "The science makes no sense," Lisa muttered, watching her instruments try to analyze the impossible plants. "These things are somehow changing matter at the tiny particle level, but I cannot find the energy source. It is like they are powered by something that does not exist." Nicholas overheard her and chuckled. "My dear Lisa, there are many kinds of energy in this universe. Your machines can measure electricity and heat and light, but they cannot measure hope. They cannot measure love. They cannot measure the warm feeling people get when they give gifts to others. These forces are more powerful than most people realize." More explosions shook the colony as the Vorthak attack continued, but something had changed among the human defenders. The soldiers who had received gifts from Nicholas moved with new confidence. Their weapons worked better. Their armor protected them from attacks that should have killed them. Meanwhile, something wonderful was happening in the underground shelters. The children somehow knew that Nicholas was there, even though most of them could not see him directly. They stopped crying and hiding. Instead, they pressed against the small windows, trying to get a better look at the impossible man in the red coat. 8-year-old Amy Bell was braver than the rest. While her mother was distracted talking to other adults, Amy slipped out of the shelter through a side door that was supposed to be locked. She ran across the snowy square, dodging falling pieces of buildings until she reached Nicholas. "Are you really Santa Claus?" she asked, looking up at him with big brown eyes. "My mom said you were just a story that parents tell kids." Nicholas knelt down so he was at Amy's eye level. His beard was even whiter up close and his eyes sparkled like stars. "What do you think, Amy? Do I look like just a story to you?" Amy studied his face carefully. She looked at his red coat with its white fur trim. She looked at his big black boots and his wide leather belt. She looked at the magical sack full of impossible gifts. Then she looked around at the alien ships overhead and the damaged buildings all around them. "I think grown-ups stop believing in magic because they get scared," Amy said slowly. "But you are here, so you must be real. And if you are real, then maybe magic is real too." Nicholas smiled the biggest smile Amy had ever seen. "Very wise words, little one. Now would you like to help me save your home and everyone in it?" Amy nodded eagerly. Nicholas reached into his sack one more time and pulled out a snow globe exactly like the one he carried. It was small enough to fit in Amy's hands, but inside the glass ball was an entire winter wonderland with tiny trees and houses and people. "This is very special," Nicholas told her. "When you shake it, think about protecting everyone you love. Think about keeping them safe and warm. Can you do that for me?" Amy took the snow globe carefully. It felt warm and tingly in her small hands. "What will happen when I shake it?" Nicholas stood up and looked at the alien ships circling overhead like hungry birds. "Something wonderful, my dear. Something that will remind those visitors up there that Earth's children are not alone in this big universe." Amy held the snow globe tight against her chest. For the first time since the aliens came, she was not afraid. She looked up at Nicholas and smiled. "I am ready to help." Nicholas nodded and reached into his sack again. Then let us show these Vorthak what Christmas magic can do. High above the planet, Admiral Thex 9 stared at his control screens in confusion. The Vorthak commander had been fighting wars across the galaxy for over 30 years, but he had never seen anything like this before. Report. He ordered his second. In command, Commander Vel 5 Vel 5's crystalline fingers danced across his control panel. Admiral, the human energy readings are impossible. Our sensors show massive power spikes from the colony, but the sources make no sense. It is like they suddenly gained access to weapons we have never encountered before. On the main display screen, Admiral Thex 9 watched the battle below. The human defenders were using equipment that defied everything the Vorthak knew about Earth. Technology. Energy shields that looked like glowing wreaths of light blocked their plasma cannons. The humans fired weapons that shot what appeared to be candy canes, but these projectiles hit with the force of their most powerful explosives. Analysis of their new defensive systems? Admiral Thex 9 demanded. Commander Vel 5 shook his head. Unknown, Admiral. The energy signatures are completely alien to our databases. We have fought humans on 17 worlds, and they have never shown capabilities like this. It appears they received reinforcements, but our blockade is perfect. No ships have penetrated our perimeter. What the Vorthak could not see was Nicholas standing in the colony's central square. Snow continued to fall around him as he reached, again and again, into his bottomless sack. Children had somehow escaped from their shelters and gathered around him in a circle. Their parents tried to call them back to safety, but the kids would not listen. Each item Nicholas pulled from his bag seemed designed for exactly what the colony needed most. He gave repair kits that looked like toy trains to the mechanics. When they touched the toys to broken equipment, machines that had been destroyed for months suddenly worked like new. He handed communication devices disguised as Christmas ornaments to the squad leaders. These allowed perfect coordination between all the human defenders, even when alien jamming should have made radio contact impossible. Most amazing of all were the weapons Nicholas distributed. They looked like toys and decorations, but when the soldiers used them against Vorthak ships, something incredible happened. The alien vessels were disabled without their crews being killed. Vorthak fighters crashed to the ground, but the pilots climbed out alive and unharmed. Why are their weapons not killing our people? Admiral Thex 9 asked. Commander Vel 5 studied the readings. Unknown, Admiral. Our ships are being neutralized, but life signs remain strong in all cases. It is as if their weapons are designed to stop us without causing permanent harm. Young Amy Bell stood at the center of the children's circle, holding her snow globe high above her head. Nicholas had told her to think about protecting everyone she loved, and that was exactly what she did. She thought about her mother and father. She thought about her baby brother. She thought about all the other kids in the colony who just wanted to play outside without being afraid. As she held the snow globe, something magical happened. A dome of soft, shimmering light spread out from where she stood. It grew larger and larger until it covered the entire colony like a giant bubble. The light was gentle and warm, like winter sunlight sparkling on fresh snow. When Vorthak plasma bolts hit this barrier of light, they simply disappeared. The deadly green energy dissolved harmlessly, as if winter itself was protecting the human settlement. Impossible, Admiral Thex 9 whispered. What kind of defensive system is this? Dr. Lisa Harper was recording everything on her portable computers, though her scientific training could not process what she witnessed. Nicholas, she called out, what are you exactly? Your technology is beyond anything we have discovered in our exploration of the galaxy. Nicholas smiled as he watched Amy and the other children maintain their protective dome of light. I am exactly what these children believe me to be, my dear Lisa. Nothing more, nothing less. I have been traveling between worlds for longer than most species have existed, bringing hope where it is needed most. Today it is needed here on Kepler. More Vorthak ships dove toward the colony, firing everything they had. But Amy's barrier held strong. Other children joined her, each one thinking about the people they wanted to protect. The dome grew brighter and stronger with each young heart that believed in its power. Commander Jake Morrison watched from his command post as his impossible defenses held against wave after wave of alien attacks. His soldiers fought with confidence. they had not felt in months. Their new weapons and equipment worked perfectly, and somehow no one on either side was being killed. The children are the key, Nicholas explained to Jake as they watched the battle unfold. Hope is strongest in the young. They have not yet learned to doubt what seems impossible. And hope, Commander, is the most powerful force in the universe. Your people have never lost that quality. Not even here, not even facing extinction. Jake shook his head in wonder. But how does hope translate into energy shields and working weapons? Because, Nicholas replied with a twinkle in his eye, when enough people believe in something with all their hearts, that belief becomes real. These children believe they can protect their families. They believe good will triumph over evil. They believe in Christmas miracles. And sometimes, just sometimes, the universe listens to what children believe. Above them, Admiral Thex-9 was beginning to realize that this was no ordinary battle. His fleet was not losing to superior technology or better tactics. They were losing to something his military training had never prepared him for. They were losing to hope itself, made manifest through the innocent faith of human children who refused to stop believing in magic. The battle's end came not with explosions or death, but with something far more powerful. Nicholas reached deep into his sack one final time. What he pulled out was not a weapon or a tool, but something that made everyone stop and stare in wonder. Was a star. Not a picture of a star or a toy shaped like a star, but a real star no bigger than his palm. It pulsed with warm golden light that made everyone who looked at it feel peaceful and safe. Every child who has ever wished upon a star, Nicholas said softly, holding the tiny star in his open hand. Every person who has ever hoped for peace, for safety, for someone to care about them. All of those wishes and hopes are contained right here. The children gathered around Nicholas reached out their hands toward the beautiful light. Amy Bell was closest to him, still holding her snow globe tight against her chest. The barrier of light she had created around the colony continued to shimmer and glow above their heads. "What are you going to do with it?" Amy asked, her young voice full of wonder. Nicholas smiled down at her. "I am going to share it with everyone, little one, even with those who forgot how to hope." He opened his hand completely and gently blew on the star, like he was blowing out a birthday candle. But instead of going dark, the star grew brighter and began to float up into the air. As it rose higher, it expanded into a network of golden threads that reached beyond the planet's atmosphere. The light touched every Vorthak ship in the fleet. But instead of damaging or destroying them, something unprecedented happened. For the first time in their species' history, the alien crews began to feel human emotions. Admiral Thex-9 was studying his tactical displays when the light reached his command ship. Suddenly, his mind was flooded with feelings he had never experienced before. He felt the love human parents had for their children. He felt the determination of soldiers protecting innocent people. He felt the simple hope that tomorrow could be better than today. Most powerfully of all, he felt what the children below were feeling. Their dreams of playing safely in the sunshine. Their wishes for their families to be together. Their absolute belief that good would always win over evil in the end. The alien commander staggered backward from his control station. His crystal-like skin began to change color as new emotions coursed through his body. Around him, his crew members were experiencing the same overwhelming flood of human feelings. "Admiral," Commander Vel 5 gasped. "What is happening to us?" Admiral Thex-9 looked at his second in command and saw something he had never seen before. Vel 5 was crying. Clear liquid ran down his crystalline face as he felt for the first time what it meant to care about someone else more than yourself. "We are feeling what they feel," Admiral Thex-9 whispered. "We are understanding what we have been trying to destroy." Through the golden light, every Vorthak in the fleet experienced human consciousness. They felt fear, but also courage. They felt sadness, but also joy. They felt the pain of loss, but also the warmth of love. For beings who had lived their entire lives focused only on conquest and war, these new emotions changed everything. On the planet below, Nicholas watched as the Vorthak ships began to change their behavior. Instead of firing weapons, they started to retreat. One by one, The alien vessels pulled back from their attack positions and moved away from the colony. Admiral Thex-9 opened a communication channel to the human colony. His voice, when it came through their speakers, sounded different than before, softer, more uncertain. "Human colony," he said slowly. "This is Admiral Thex-9 of the Vorthak fleet. We wish to speak with your leader, Commander Jake Morrison." Looked at Nicholas, who nodded encouragingly. Jake activated his own communicator. "This is Commander Morrison. What do you want?" There was a long pause before Admiral Thex-9 replied. "We want to understand. The light that touched our ships. It showed us things we had never felt before. We saw through your eyes. We felt through your hearts. We did not know that beings like us could experience such love for others." Nicholas stepped forward and spoke into Jake's communicator. "Admiral Thex-9, what you felt was hope. It is the most powerful force in the universe, and it exists in every intelligent species. Your people simply forgot how to use it." "Who are you?" Admiral Thex-9 asked. "I am someone who reminds people what they are fighting for," Nicholas replied. "Today, I reminded your people that the beings you were attacking are not so different from yourselves. You all want the same basic things: safety for your families, a future for your children, peace instead of endless war." The Vorthak fleet began to withdraw that day, not in defeat, but in wonder. Admiral Thex-9 would later write in his personal records that they had encountered something on Kepler that their entire military had no way to fight against. They had met genuine love, expressed as protective action, and it had changed them forever. His impossible ship prepared for departure. Nicholas said goodbye to each of the children individually. Amy was the last one in line. "Will we see you again?" she asked, still clutching her snow globe. Nicholas knelt down and gently touched her cheek. "Whenever hope is needed most, little one. Whenever children dream of a better world. Whenever people choose to give rather than take, to protect rather than destroy. I will always be there." His wooden ship lifted off quietly, leaving no exhaust trail or energy signature. As it disappeared into the stars, the children waved until they could no longer see it. Commander Morrison filed the strangest military report in human history that day. The official version spoke of unconventional defensive assistance and advanced, peaceful resolution techniques. But Morrison added a personal note that would become famous throughout human space. "Today we learned that humanity's greatest weapon is not our technology or our tactics. It is our ability to hope, to love, and to believe that impossible things can happen. The enemy learned this too, and it changed them. Sometimes the most powerful victory is the one where nobody has to die." Years passed. The children of Kepler grew up to become explorers, scientists, diplomats, and protectors of human colonies throughout the galaxy. But they never forgot the Christmas when Santa Claus proved that some stories are more real than reality itself. And on quiet winter nights, when children across the galaxy looked up at the stars, some said they could see his ship moving between distant suns, forever carrying hope to those who needed it most.